how does Five Nights at Freddy's The Joy of Creation Reborn work behind the scenes? Reborn was the earlier version of the Joy of Creation prior to the finalized story mode. In this beta version of the game, you have the ability to free roam and avoid animatronics. But what does the game hide from the player from the developer's point of view? Well, we have some ground to cover, so buckle up and I hope you enjoy. Today we're covering the title screen, Freddy's challenge, and the basement with Bonnie. Spooky season is almost upon us, and I have a lot of cool videos in the works, but it's thanks to sponsors like Dragon City that really help me keep the videos coming. Dragon City is a free-to-play game where you can collect thousands of dragons, breed them to collect new types, and feed them to evolve them over time. You can then take your dragon posse to PvP modes to battle other players. But now, The Walking Dead has landed in the world of Dragon City, with new Negan, Maggie, Rick, Carol, and Michonne dragons. Each dragon has an exclusive primary element, and their special bunker attack gives them more power in PvP battles. Negan is already available in-game, and with the power of his baseball bat Lucille, you can pummel your opponents. The remaining The Walking Dead dragons can be obtained as they roll out in the game, either through offers or the breeding island. Michonne can be obtained through a new quest series, and you can snag Daryl after you collect all 5 of the others. To collect all the exclusively spooky The Walking Dead dragons, download Dragon City by clicking the link in the description, or scan the QR code and get a special free starter pack with 15,000 food, 30,000 gold, and the epic zombie nature dragon. And a big thanks to Dragon City for sponsoring this video. Alright, let's talk about the Joy of Creation. In all of the maps outside of the bonus map, our player is running away from animatronics and collecting items. The gameplay in Reborn typically revolves around mazes in the inside of a house, with Chica's area being an exception. And so the gameplay is relatively similar, outside of some new mechanics for certain characters. However, before we dive into the individual places, let's start off on the title screen to begin our adventure. So the first thing we see in the game is the title screen. And in the title screen, we have a door in front of us, similar to story mode, except the difference is when this door opens, we see an animatronic behind it. And depending which character name we click on, that character will appear inside the door. So if we were to back up the camera, you'll see that this area is bisected by a wall. You have this front room that we can see on the normal title screen, and then you have this back area that's outside that you can only see through the doorway. But this is what it looks like if you move the camera around. Now, you might be curious how the animatronics actually swap out, and it's actually instantaneous. As soon as the door closes, the old animatronic disappears, and the new one fills the spot. But that's all the title screen has to offer, so now we're going into Freddy's challenge. Now, every challenge in this game typically has an intro sort of title screen that shows a character and their name in front of them. And this is typically from a fixed perspective. However, it's actually a 3D scene, so we can fly the camera around Freddy and see the scene from a different perspective before ultimately beginning the challenge. Now, the challenge with Freddy has quite a lot to look at. I was actually very surprised. So normally, you spawn inside the house and you're running from Freddy, who's chasing you, and the only parts of the environment you can see outside the house are through the windows. And that is a very limited world view. There's so much more out there, and I am very excited to show you. Now, these windows do show sort of Easter eggs sometimes. Sometimes you'll see an animatronic out there like Bonnie that you can view from the window inside, letting you know that outside is not safe. And in some ways, this is a nod back to the alpha version of this game, because when you started that game, directly behind you, behind the door, was 3 animatronics staring at you from outside. Now, that was only a tech demo that had Freddy wandering around the halls, but it's neat to see that they evolved the concept a bit and put these animatronics around the actual environment. But enough talking about being inside the house, let's go outside. So the exterior of the house is kind of interesting. We can run around the entirety of the house through the forest, and on different sides you'll find different things. In some places, the wooden floor from inside the house just sort of extends beyond its walls and out into the forest. It's kind of weird. I'm not entirely sure why this was left here, but it is. But besides that, we can see Bonnie, who is normally by the tree that we can see through the window, and we can also see 2 Foxy animatronics. Now, this is really interesting, because one of these animatronics is standing by a tree, which is designed so the player can see it from inside the house. But there is another Foxy out here that is behind a wall that the player cannot normally see. And this Foxy looks kind of aggressive. Foxy looks like it's attacking. And having the second Foxy out here makes me wonder if Foxy used to also be on this map. Now, my hunch for that is because there's also another Freddy out here too. And this Freddy is called upon when a jump scare occurs. So when the player runs into Freddy inside, they are warped outside for the jump scare. and it starts playing right here. As I'll get into later, all the maps have a similar mechanic where the jump scare animatronic, a separate version from the main animatronic, is stored out of bounds. So by this logic, it makes me wonder if Foxy used to be a threat on this map. So as we get farther and farther away from the house, you'll see that the forest kind of ends, and we actually come to the edge of this floating island. However, the map goes on quite a bit beyond this. And at one point, there's actually a path that the player can walk on that leads away from the house and sort of just comes to a dead end. Now the player controller, at least that's what we call it in Unity, I'm not an Unreal Engine guy, but from what I can tell, there's a really interesting physic applied to this controller. It has extreme friction, and no matter what, it will try to keep the player on the ground. As you can see, I'm trying to fall off these edges, but my character is sticking to them. I'm like a magnet, and the ground is metal. But we can see that there is a land beneath us that we want to get to. So I'm going to break this logic for a second and fall down below, and this puts us beneath the house. Now this grassy floor down here goes on for quite a bit, and then it becomes some really big hills. So I started to wander around this grassy world, and I realized the physics applied to the character are really extreme. I can't even walk up these hills. The player cannot walk up any slope at all, and is limited to only walking on flat ground. This is a bit odd, but I started flying around the hills because I was curious if there was something out here. And there's not really anything, but the hills get really, really weird, like almost cartoonish, with how tall and wavy they get. Trying to land on these hills at all will make the player slide down them. Like, you can't fight the momentum. You just start sliding as if you're on ice, and you cannot stop it. And it's bizarre because if there's a flat surface on the hill at any point, well, the character sort of just gets stuck. They can't move at all, and they're stuck there. Going back to the big grassy field beneath the house though, we can walk under the house and look up and see Freddy walking around. It's very odd looking at Freddy from this perspective. We can see the entirety of the maze down here, but there's nothing else down here. It's just all grass. Moving back to the side of the house by the windows, we can actually look at Freddy from outside, and he's very aggressively trying to get us. However, we are safe outside, and we can watch him run around like a madman. I honestly think he's getting a bit stir-crazy. So we're gonna hop on top of the house, and on top of the house, we can walk around. There is an invisible ceiling that we can step on, and we can explore the maze from up here. And what's interesting is that in all the areas where we cannot walk, there are actually sealed rooms that we normally cannot get into. So, if we were to hop down into one of these sealed rooms, we can see that Freddy cannot get us. We are perfectly safe inside these small rooms. And even if for some reason we want Freddy to try to kill us, well, he can't. The walls are just thick enough that even if Freddy clips to the wall and tries to get us, well, we won't get jump scared. And there's a lot of different areas like this in this house. If we take the camera up above and fly it around, you can see all the different little pocket rooms that we cannot access normally in gameplay. Going back inside, I spawned some more Freddys into the maze. Now these Freddys do not move, and they're actually a little bit smaller than the regular Freddy that is on this map. Now, these Freddys stand still because I did not load a behavior onto them when I brought them to the map. However, even though they're smaller, they can still stop the regular Freddy by making him get hung up on them. So it's kind of funny running from Freddy, but having little Freddys help you by stopping him in his tracks. But eventually Freddy's gonna get us. But before he does, we are gonna see what his jump scare looks like in slow motion. So as he hits us, we get warped outside, and we can see the jump scare playing back in bullet time. And as we slowly die, this very drawn out death, this brings the Freddy challenge to a close, and it's time to move on. Next up, we're heading to the basement with Bonnie. Now the basement starts off with an intro shot, just like Freddy's, where we have Bonnie behind a title. And if we move the camera around, this is what that looks like from a different perspective. There is nothing else on this map, this is the only thing, so we're going to move on to the actual challenge now. So the basement challenge is an underground labyrinth where Bonnie is chasing you through the dark. And honestly, putting some distance between you and Bonnie feels a bit harder than trying to outrun Freddy from the previous challenge. That's just my opinion. I don't know if that's accurate, but I felt like I had a harder time getting away from Bonnie than I did Freddy. Now, this map is a bit barren. because there is no exterior outside this map. There's no reason, because there is no outside world to see through the windows. So first things first, I wanted to get away from Bonnie, so we actually hop on top of the maze and we can walk on top of the ceiling, similar to how we can walk on top of the house. Seeing the basement from this perspective and making it a bit brighter helps. I also feel a lot more safe up here because Bonnie would not kill me, but being up here allows me to see some things that we normally could not see. And all of this pertains to the actual edges of the maze. So if we were to go to the edge of the map, it just becomes this open space that goes on forever. However, around the edge of the map, in certain areas, is a path. And I find this interesting. So the floor actually creeps out past the walls quite a bit, and I've seen this in other levels too, especially like the basement in the Joy of Creation story mode. But because this flooring extends past the wall, it allows us to walk down here around the edges of this area and not have to worry about Bonnie. Bonnie cannot get to us, but we can sort of follow this secret tunnel on the outside of the map around the perimeter in certain parts. Now, it does abruptly end in certain areas, and we cannot actually fall off it due to the physics thing I mentioned before, but it's out here that we find something else that's quite interesting, and that is the duplicate model of Bonnie that's out here that is used for the jump scare. Similar to Freddy on the first map, if we get hit by Bonnie at any point, we will get warped all the way over here, and this Bonnie will trigger the jump scare and basically punch us in the face. It's actually a very painful jump scare. But if we slow it down, we can see how this animation looks in bullet time and provide a different perspective of the punch. And this is what that looks like right now. I don't think the punch will hurt us at that speed, but it is kind of neat to see the animation slowed down so we can appreciate everything that goes into it when it's not sped up. And that brings our adventure to a close. So next time we're checking out Chica's map, Foxy's map, and the extra bonus stage that unlocks if you beat all 4. I hope you enjoyed this video. Subscribe now for more FNAF content, and a big thanks again to Dragon City for supporting the channel. Click the link below to get started playing and claim your rewards. And I'll see you all soon on HorrorScoped. Cheers!